What's up YouTube, and welcome back to Homebrew Subaru. In this episode, I'm going to start mocking up the rest of the exhaust system. So what's up everyone? First thing I want to talk about is that epic 14-gram mushroom video that I made. It seems to be recommended on YouTube again, and the views have been picking up. It's got over 30k views now. The feedback on that video has been surprising. I'm a little bit taken back by how many people are actually getting a feel out of that video. So I realized I'm going to have to do an update, and I planned it for this month. I'm going to make it the next video. So for those, kind of waiting for more WRX content, I'm going to have to put it off, and we're going to have to talk a little bit more about my psychedelic adventure. I'm actually going to keep this video short because I can't really get into welding this weekend, and I realize that there's possibly a lot more welding to do. So the up pipe still needs to be modified, and what I ended up doing, or trying, was taking the old Grimspeed pipe and passing it through to see what kind of variation there was. And basically when I did that, the flex joint just split wide open on it. So at that point I realized, well, let's just go ahead and use the Grimspeed pipe. It's a 2-inch pipe as opposed to this newer one that's 2 1/4, and I've got 2-inch stainless pipe here, so I can fab up the up pipe without the flex joint and have it all the same size. Being a little bit smaller will get the turbo to spool up a little quicker than this big boy will. Another thing was passing this through. It's just that little bit more chunkier. It's a little bit tighter passing through between the cross member and the cylinder head. So I think going with the 2-inch is the way to go. So in fact, the other reason the up pipe needs to be modified is I need to angle the turbo back a little bit in order for the inlet going to the turbo to pass by the intake manifold. We can show that on the car a little later. But if I angle it something like that, it's going to shorten the up pipe, and it is going to need a change in the angle for sure. But the flange still needs to bolt to the manifold or the exhaust header in the same factory location, and then the downpipe that I've previously modified that is already angled has to meet up with this. So in order to get this made up properly, I'm going to actually have to get the downpipe installed so the turbo is at the proper angle for the downpipe, meet it with this top section of the up pipe, and then start trying to fab up the bottom section to make sure everything's properly welded, properly positioned, it all bolts together, and the chance of cracking anything is minimum to none. So the first thing is to pull off this SRS catback exhaust. The car had an NVIDIA downpipe on it, and I'm going to want to put the eBay exhaust that I modified back on this car. I would like to keep this catback because it is a Japanese made, but the front flange won't actually meet up with the eBay downpipe. There's no sense in cutting this one up. I'd rather sell it or save it for something else. So I've got the SRS exhaust out of the car, and I've dug out the eBay pipe that I had in my old GF wagon. And this exhaust, it had these just regular steel posts on it, so I had to clean them up and paint them. And I'm ready to slide this into the car to see what it fits like. But just to give you an idea of the difference between these two, is over at this end. And you can see the length of them is quite different. So the eBay downpipe will come up to this pipe, and that's what I'm going to use in the car. But this was all in my old car, and the wheelbase on it is a little bit shorter than the GD WRX is. So if this needs to be extended at all, I may just end up cutting this pipe and reusing it. So I will slide the eBay one into the car and see what that fits like first. So we'll start here at the back and kind of give you an idea of what this thing looks like on there. There's plenty of clearance, and to be honest, it's fitting so well I moved right onto the front and started installing the turbo and intercooler. So it kind of pokes out of the rear a little bit, and the tip's nice and shiny. I think it looks great. And hopefully with the garage door closed, you can kind of see how the pipe lays there. You can see I've got it attached right to the downpipe, and the downpipe is in place. And then as you can see here in the front temporarily, I've got the old 0607 style intercooler in place. It actually touches this harness in the back, so that would have to be lowered down just a little bit to make a little bit more clearance for the intercooler. Looking down here, there's a good 1/4 inch of room for the downpipe, and I do have the up pipe kind of sitting down here. With it turned in the factory position, it kind of almost obstructs on the cross member a little bit with the turbo being in the position that it is. So I think the first thing to do here would be to cut the pipe from the flange and actually reset it on the flange so it tilts and turns towards the header a little bit more down there. So it looks like it's all going to work. It's just going to be a little bit more fabrication than I thought it was. Now that intercooler's in place just so I can mock up the turbo's position, because I'm pretty sure I'm going front mount intercooler, and if I'm going to order a kit, then I can just order it for a WRX and it'll almost bolt on. The throttle body be in slightly different position. There would be some modification to the pipe, but I can make that work. I can pretty much use the old turbo inlet that I made up for my old car. I've kind of set it in place, and it needs to be kind of rerouted a little bit, but I'm pretty sure it will work. There's going to be some more fitment issues, I know, and I just want to take my time doing this to make sure that I've got everything fitting properly 100%. I don't want to have anything like making contact and vibrating afterwards, if you know what I mean. The next step really is to fabricate the up pipe, get it installed into the car, full exhaust bolted up, and then I can move on to other things. This is pretty much turning out to be the same as what the 240SX was, because I used like a Skyline RB downpipe with an SR cat delete pipe with a KA cat back exhaust. So that required quite a bit of modification, some cutting on that downpipe, and then of course I added the external wastegate tubing. So fortunately I don't have to get into that with this, but this is literally almost the same amount of work. And on another note, I did put insurance on the 240SX yesterday. I had a little fuel leak, charged up the battery, got it in there, went for a little drive, and gave it the torture test, and popped probably the last factory hose on the RB20. It's underneath the intake. It's very difficult to get at and see, but I think I can do it without removing the intake manifold. I'm gonna try and do it before I make this update video for next week, because I'd like to go for a little drive in the car as I make that video. If you like this video, definitely give it a thumbs up, and if you're new here and you haven't already, please consider hitting that subscribe button for me. Leave your questions and comments further down below, and I'll see you in the next one.